On today's episode of Sports Medicine Weekly, we visit with a physical therapist from Rush Physical Therapy, talking about the everyday man. Hey, the weekend warrior. What if you turn an ankle because you only participate in sports or working out during the weekend? We'll talk about common injuries. But first, thanks to our sponsors, JRF Ortho partners with orthopedic surgeons to improve the quality of life of patients by enabling them to have an active life through the generous gift of cartilage and ligament transplantation. Please go to jrfortho.org to learn more or sign up to be a tissue donor at donatelife.net. Also, Vericell. They develop, manufacture, and market autologous cell-based therapies for patients with serious diseases and conditions. For more information about their products, visit vcell.com. I'm Steve Kashul with Dr. Brian Cole. Dr. Cole, of course, the head team physician with the Chicago Bulls, one of the team physicians with the Chicago White Sox, sports medicine specialist, orthopedic surgeon from Midwest Orthopedics at Rush. Our producer is Alex Soroka, and our guest on this episode of Sports Medicine Weekly is Casey Gray from Rush Physical Therapy. He's a physical therapist, center manager at Rush PT, the Lincoln Park at North Avenue facility. He's also one of the team physical therapists for the Chicago Fire. And Dr. Cole, we're going to talk a little bit about the weekend warrior, and I think this hits a wide array of our listeners and followers. Don't you agree?
Yeah, I would tell you that it applies to me too. Because it's one of those things, Steve. And I don't know what your time is like now during the week, but if you don't do something with a high degree of frequency, and then you try to cram it all in over a very short period of time with a burst of acceleration or deceleration, that's what typically happens. So I see on any given Monday morning, I will tell you that my clinic is replete with calf hamstring pulls and calf pulls, and we call it tennis player calf, where people tear the gastroc, one of the calf muscles, in playing tennis. And usually they don't play all week; they just play once on a weekend, and that's it. So There's something to it.
That's why we call him the weekend warrior. So let's bring in Casey Gray from Rush Physical Therapy at the Gold Coast. And Casey, thanks so much for being our guest here on our Sports Medicine Weekly podcast. And I want you to define for us, what is a weekend warrior?
Thanks for having me, Steve. Dr. Cole. So the weekend warrior, as Dr. Cole was saying, is a wide array. It covers a lot of different individuals. To start off, you have your individuals who are, working throughout the week and don't have per se time through the week, whether it's with kids at home, whether they're going off to school, whether they have their job, and when they get home, they just don't have that time to fit into the day. So what they do is they try and cram it in at the end of the week. It's the exercise version of cramming for finals. They realize that they should have been making this up throughout the week, and on Friday, or comes Saturday, Sunday, that's when they're, trying to get in their 2-3 hours of exercise and going at the intensity to make up for the lost time during the week.
Casey, what are some of the common injuries by sport that you see with some of these weekend warriors who make it to your place following their weekend activity?
Sure. So we see a lot of runners in the clinic around this time. As the weather gets warmer, people just want to be outside and use, the free environment to get their exercise in. So with the runners, we get a lot of PFS. We get a lot, which is patellofemoral syndrome. We get plenty of stress fractures in the lower legs.
Can you go back on the patellofemoral syndrome, did you say?
Yeah, so patellofemoral syndrome. So oftentimes when we see this, it's from individuals not cross-training. They're not getting the proper flexibility in their hamstrings. They're not having the proper ankle mobility. They don't have strength through their glutes that they need to run. So a lot of times we get these quad-dominant runners that are either landing on their heel, landing forefoot, and the muscle imbalances in the knee are not there. So we don't have enough mobility through that patellofemoral joint or where our kneecap is, leading to increased discomfort through that knee.
Let me ask you just a question about a specific injury, because I see a lot of these, and I'm curious. I do refer them to you and to therapists. A gastroc strain, what I alluded to before, a tennis player's calf, super common. People think they tore their Achilles. It's not necessarily what it is. It's when they strain because they're running and they do what's called an eccentric load. The calf muscle is contracting at the same time it's lengthening. So the muscle at the muscle tendon junction, usually on the inner or the medial medial side of the gastrocsoleus complex. That's the posterior calf muscle on the inner side. It gives way. It's very painful. You come off cord gimping and so forth. And I've had them a couple times myself for the exact same reason, not enough frequency of playing tennis. What do you do for them, and how do you judge a timeline? Because that's really what people want to know, is how quickly I can get back and how do I get back.
Well, so that's one of the biggest issues is individuals that have that calf strain. As we get older, we have less water in our tissues, and we have less flexibility in those tissues as well. So we're not training them throughout the week as much as we should be. And the problem is individuals are trying to get back to the field or just get back to their normal lives as soon as possible. So generally, we focus on changing mechanics. We look at them barefoot. We have them walking in the clinic, show us how you'd be walking, how you'd be jogging, or what it was that caused the injury to the tissue. Then we're looking at strength differences between tissue. And again, when we have these people come in, they're already injured. So the strength and the amount of discomfort in that tissue is going to be different from the opposite side, I should say. So from there, what we'll do is we'll slowly add in more soleus strengthening. So the smaller of the calf muscles will get that range of motion in the knee because it's a two-joint muscle. We get it at the knee. We have to get that ankle mobility there as well. A lot of times, individuals that don't have that upward bending, or we call it dorsiflexion at the ankle, that's where they're going to be loading that calf a little bit more as well. From there, we just go through a segmented strengthening program for that calf. If it's an eccentric injury that occurred, we start with gentle isometrics and build up that strength until the tissue can accept that load for when they do return to sport.
Dr. Cole, you've seen some of the same things, obviously, as you said, kind of coming in on Monday morning. These weekend warriors come through, and do you make recommendations saying, hey, next time you try this sport, or maybe they're water skiing for the first time all summer?
Yeah,
and,
that's a common one too.
Yeah. Did you? I think you hurt yourself, right? Was it a hamstring or an Achilles on a water skiing?
Yeah, good
incident?
memory. Yeah, no, I was surfing, and I don't do it. It was the early phases of learning, so you try to muscle yourself up on a board where you just really have to relax and get your heels on it and let the boat kind of pull you up, almost like someone grabbing your hands, pulling you from like a laying down position forward, But the boat does it, and if you fight it, then what happens is you just put a tremendous amount of stress on your hamstring, and that's what I did. And for me, it was bad because I was climbing. We had a group that was going to climb Mount Baker actually, in like 4 weeks, and did not have time to be laid up. So, yeah, I see it. And the challenge is that this is usually people like me who are very busy day jobs or just trying to stay fit or do things that are fun. And it's interesting. Casey made the point about the sort of water content changes. I often quote Atul Gawande, who's a general surgeon who out of Harvard, who has written a lot of different books in healthcare and so forth, and he has this expression in one of his books, I think it's in Being Mortal, it talks about how we're sort of rotting from the inside out. And I know this sounds kind of morbid and it's an awful visual, but the reality is every year or every decade we live, Steve, there's fluid changes, collagen starts to break down, it gets replaced by less, lower quality tissue and so forth. So that's why we see things like this, these muscle tendon injuries. That's why we see rotator cuff tears and all these things that happen as we age. And the good news is most of the things that happen will never see the light of day in terms of symptoms, but there's no question that our bodies have this, like it or not, they sort of have this internal finite clock that changes over time, and it takes an episode like playing tennis or trying to ski or doing something where you don't have the flexibility ahead of time, and then an acute event happens and it shuts you down. And I think, if I had to give someone, some a constructive piece of advice, it's an issue of, staying in shape, doing, multiple different sports, maintaining flexibility, maintaining strength, because injury as an adult has a whole different set of consequences than injury when you're younger. The time course of healing is longer. It can be more commonly left with disability or impairment. In other words, all the symptoms don't necessarily go away. And being laid up as an adult has consequences that you don't have when you're much younger. So I think the secret to longevity in part is actually just don't get injured. And there are ways to prevent that.
Well, I want to talk about the healing times for different soft tissue bone injuries and also the impact COVID-19 has had when returning to exercise. But first, warm weather is here. Time to get outside, enjoy your favorite activities, spend precious time with family and friends. Aches, pains, or an injury should not be part of the memories you're making. The therapists at Rush Physical Therapy are here for you. With more than 60 locations throughout greater Chicagoland, Rush's clinical experts will get you back to life. Go to rushpt.com today to schedule an appointment. Not sure if physical therapy is right for you? Request a complimentary consultation and discover the power of Rush Physical Therapy today. One of our sponsors is also Karen Malkin. She does an outstanding job as a dietitian and a eating psychology coach, and she has some new protein brownie bars and superfood bars available for purchase. Best tasting bars on the market, certified gluten-free, paleo, no added sugar. Karen's protein brownie bars and superfood bars available on Amazon and at KarenMalkin.com. Once again, visiting with Casey Gray from Rush Physical Therapy, the Gold Coast. We got a couple quick minutes here, but Casey, one question I wanted to ask you: what to do to prevent these, actually healing times I wanted to ask you about. We talked a little bit how to prevent the injuries, but healing times of different soft tissue bone injuries. People want to know, how long do I need to be out, right?
Right. So general rule of thumb is normal exercise soreness. It's called DOMS, delayed onset muscle soreness. That should last anywhere from 0 to 3 days. So individuals after a tough workout session expect to be sore for that 3-day mark. After that, that's where we get into muscle strains. That's where we get into ligament sprains, acute incidences where an injury might occur. And so a muscle strain, that can be 0 to 2 weeks for a grade 1 strain, which is a very light strain, minimal loss of strength, minimal pain. But then getting into a grade 2 strain, those can take anywhere from 4 days to 3 months, depending on the muscle. Going into ligament sprains, that's when you roll an ankle. The simple types of injuries that can occur in basketball, softball, tennis. 0 to 3 days for the very minimal sprains, but when you get into the grade 2 sprains, that's when you're going 3 weeks to 6 months sometimes. Tendinitis can be 3 weeks to 7 weeks. A bone fracture, any type of those stress fractures, can be anywhere 5 weeks to 3 months. So the big issue, so the big thing is when coming into a physical therapy clinic, that's when we have these free screens that you mentioned in the short bit there. Was come in. It takes anywhere from 5 to 10 minutes to sort of help diagnose, is this a serious injury? And that's when we can really easily refer to someone like Dr. Cole to take more detailed look at it.
Good deal. And then finally, COVID-19 has had an impact on virtually, literally everybody. And how about returning to exercise? You wonder if people, kind of took that time off. Some were unfortunately sick. What do you suggest, and what have you guys kind of found out about the return to exercise following what we went through with the pandemic?
So I've seen quite a few individuals for deconditioning following COVID. Their heart rate is elevated. Their heart rate response is not normal. Their cardiopulmonary, cardiovascular systems are just a little out of whack. So the same way we'll train some of our individuals with lower body injuries in terms of return to run is you build up to it. You see if you can do a 30-minute walk. And then from there, you add in 30 seconds of jogging and interval time slots. So just monitoring that heart rate, monitoring your own stress response. Your heart rate shouldn't be shooting up after just a minute or two of light to moderate activity. So just building up that exercise tolerance is very important. Monitoring those vitals and proper, flexibility, stretching prior, proper flexibility stretching after as well.
Good stuff. So quickly give us a website and how to follow you, and if people want to go see you guys. And as we talked about, preventative medicine is very important, right? Not just when you get an injury, but try to prevent one.
Right. So you can visit us at any of our 60 locations in the Chicagoland area. You can book an appointment with us at rushpt.com, whether neck pain, shoulder pain, any of these types of injuries. We support direct access. We support these free screens that I was alluding to, where you're able to walk in without a doctor's script, and then we're able to go from there in terms of what might be the best course of treatment, whether it is referring to a specific knee specialist, a shoulder specialist, if it's a DO, any of these individuals from there.
Fantastic. And thanks so much, Casey Gray from Rush PT in the Gold Coast, for joining us. And a reminder, we hope you enjoyed today's Sports Medicine Weekly episode. And you can add the Sports Medicine Weekly podcast to your playlist on Apple and Spotify. Listen anytime, any place. Subscribe to the Sports Medicine Weekly podcast. And new Sports Medicine Weekly podcasts are shared weekly on social media. You can also follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. We thank Casey Gray for joining us. And one note of our other sponsors. We want to thank the people at Midwest Orthopedics at Rush. They have something you can't find anywhere else. The #1 ranked orthopedic and spine care in Illinois when it comes to diagnosing and addressing your pain. Their team of orthopedic providers is focused on giving you the most effective treatments to help you feel and function better. And with access to their orthopedic and spine experts conveniently located in 6 Chicagoland area locations, it's easier than ever to get you back to leading a full active life. You can visit them at rushortho.com to learn more. And also you can find a specialist. For Dr. Brian Cole and our producer Alex Soroka, I'm Steve Kashul. Many thanks to, again, our guest Casey Gray from Rush Physical Therapy. Thanks for listening, everyone. Hope you enjoyed our Sports Medicine Weekly podcast episode. Talk with you next time.